Good morning, everybody. How are you? Sure. Okay. Everybody doing all right?
Good morning.
Well, welcome to Coffee with Carl to the 6th of May. We're glad to have you. Glad to see everyone here. We're at Saluda's downtown Columbia in 5 Points, and I'll get to my special guest, Steve Cook, in a minute. But let's hit a couple of highlights right quick, and then I'll have a minute or two to talk with Steve. All right. Anybody's guess on what's going to happen with the stock market today? I would assume another volatile day. Yesterday was painful to watch. For those that do follow that, just hold on to your seat. It'll be a roller coaster today. But a 4% sell-off on the NASDAQ yesterday. We talked about this for the last couple of weeks about the volatility, and I think what's crazy is the market's gone south. Sorry, hold on, guys. I'm gonna mute Gotcha. All right. Sorry in advance. I know you're just cringing at this noise back here. I apologize. But anyway, what I was saying, really low. Let's see if I can. There we go. All right, we'll try that. Stock market has been down, but we're really seeing stable job. I mean, the job numbers last month, April, were pretty good. So who knows what's going to happen. Interesting numbers from the hospitals. COVID's jumping back up. Deborah Burke, who used to run the White House COVID response, has said the South is due to rise again. Well, she didn't actually say it like that, but she did say COVID numbers will rise again in the South. But anyway, we're seeing an uptick, but you're not going to get a true number of COVID cases because of the number of home tests that are out there. So if you take a home test, you're not going to have to file that with DHEC or anything. So just keep an eye out for your employees, make sure that they get tested. But we are seeing a good number of cases, double-digit hospitalizations again, when they were down to basically nil. So just be aware of that. Let's hit some big trends or big issues that we're talking about. DC, obviously Ukraine, that's normal stuff there. I hate to say it that way, but interesting testimony in the Senate yesterday. Bunch of U.S. senators were taking issue with the Army's plan to reduce total number of troops. And that has 100% to do with the fact that they can't find enough new recruits to come into the Army. And they were paying exorbitant amounts of signing bonuses. So we'll keep you, the reason I mention it is because it directly impacts Fort Jackson. So the less troops going through the system, the less we see here at Jackson, and less visitations, the less overnights, the less people that come to spend money in restaurants. So we need those numbers up, actually for the National Defense Authorization Act, but more importantly, it helps our economy. So we'll follow up there, but at least the U.S. Senate, in a bipartisan fashion, were asking the questions yesterday. All right, State House in South Carolina. We've got 3 more legislative days before the signing day, which is the end of the session. We talked about this in December and January, that we thought this would be a session just talking about financial issues, the budget, because it's the largest budget in the history of South Carolina. And then there were a lot of other bills that were up, and none of them have gone anywhere. I was looking today at all the bills that are still stuck, and they're going to be stuck. And that's unfortunate, but nothing has moved. And we actually should really start posing these questions to the General Assembly. I mean, the House took 2 or 3 weeks off, but they couldn't pass stuff. They got a review where they worked yesterday with the NAACP and some others to address the redistricting. So they're going back and changing the redistricting maps after the elections, by the way. But it has to be, new lines have to be adopted this session, but it won't impact the elections that are happening next month in June. But it only deals with minority districts in 5 counties. But the ACLU, as well as the NAACP, sued the state of South Carolina on these maps. And well, more to come on that. Let's see what else they didn't get to. Let's talk medical marijuana is burned. The retiree pay for the military hadn't passed. DHEC split hadn't passed. So all these issues are big issues, but they have taken a backseat to lunches and receptions and all because they didn't get to them. So anyway, expect that we'll see a sine die resolution passed this week that will encompass a lot of things that they can come back to in later May and in June. Adam Jones, did I miss anything?
No, there's a little movement on that split of DHEC yesterday. It was a strike and insert that basically will let the department administration do a better plan of that and implement it later. So I think that will pass or be in the sine die resolution. And then the ARPA money was kind of finalized. It passed back to the House and the Senate, and they think they had a compromise, but there's a little inside baseball going on there. So we'll see how that goes.
Always another game within a game, isn't it? All right, thanks for the ledge update there. I appreciate it. Also for, we talked about this too on the big budget deal. The Senate had proposed $1 billion in tax rebates, and it was a little bit of a gamesmanship, and that got thrown out this week. So now in a conference committee for budget, there's going to be a stark difference between the House budget, Senate budget, which gives them a tremendous amount of fluidity to figure out what the budget's going to look like and all the funding. For me, or anybody else that drives the interstates to South Carolina, part of that, we really need some funding for DOT and to get some of our road paved. So anyway, we'll keep you posted there. Also, Judge ruled yesterday an agreement that the second round of DC summer settlement checks, sum total $61 million, will be coming out soon. So for residents, it's not a whole lot of money. Businesses, though, that have paid a lot of, that has a very large electric bill every month, we'll see a good check settlement from them. All right, local. I couldn't get here fast enough. Big week this week. I'm thrilled that our city leadership has taken on a new rail plan for downtown Columbia. For those that follow Adam Vance, you probably could hear him just singing and dancing this week with announcing of a plan. Now, the plan is just a plan. They don't have funding yet, and it could take 5 years to come up with those dollars, but the bottom line is we're focusing on improving transportation in downtown Columbia. As I talked about, there are over 60 railroad crossings in the city of Columbia. And so this plan would actually bury some rail lines, but also build some overpasses. They'll also close about 15 rail interchanges across the city. But the long-term ease of traffic concerns along the major arteries in Columbia would be very, very helpful. So that's a $220 million price tag in today's dollars. So if it takes 5 years, that means just more money. But there's a lot of federal dollars that are out there to help us with this, with some local match. We will hopefully have good news to share soon. But the city has actually contracted with some grant writers, and they are in the process of going after any type of funding they can to get this huge goal achieved. Interestingly enough, there was a plan back in 1960 when they actually lowered the Lincoln Street, and then they moved the rail underneath ground, undergrade, I should call it, where Amtrak is, right in the lower half of Gervais Street. That was a plan that they started in the 60s, and the next phase was do the same
on Assembly Street. Here we are 50, 60 years later and still trying to solve this problem. So I'm very, very hopeful, but most importantly, I'm appreciative for Councilman Joe Taylor, who this was a big issue for him when he served on the state transportation infrastructure, whatever the committee is, the SIB Bank, State Infrastructure Bank Board, and so he's been an advocate for moving these rail lines for years. So thanks to him and Mayor Rickman for doing that. All right, let's hit some local stuff. I'm thrilled to be at Saluda's. It's a staple of downtown fine dining, and great to have Steve Cook with us today. Steve, as many of y'all know, Steve, he has been owner of Saluda's. He's got a restaurant in 5 Points, in Forest Acres, but more importantly, he is also chair of the 5 Points Association. And so as we celebrate Small Business Week, and that is a theme that I failed to highlight today, but it is Small Business Week, I wanted to bring in Steve because he represents a lot of small businesses here in the 5 Points Association, but he's a small business owner. And so who else to talk to? But say, Steve, before I turn to you, I learned, did a little research, was impressed. This building that we're in was built after World War II as an officers club for the VFW.
That's one of the many uses this building has had.
I don't think we want to know all the uses, do we?
Probably not.
Well, great to be here, and thank you for joining us. Letting us come in here today. It's early for the restaurant folks, so we're very appreciative. All right, talk about business, what you're seeing in 5 Points, and how the economy is doing in Columbia.
Yeah, sure. I mean, there's a lot of growth in 5 Points. 5 Points is a lot of attention, both positive and negative. It has for a long time. It's sort of a resurgence recently. There's always a revolving door with businesses down here because it's a great place to start a small business. And there's not a whole lot of neighborhoods like 5 Points. A person can come in, I just opened one this week that is a tiny little, I call them micro business, right? There's a couple of employees, and you can really get in and fit into the fabric of this kind of neighborhood. And, so we're seeing a lot of that, and then there's a lot of really big stuff too. That's on the horizon. It's hopefully so fall. So it's a good time, and I'm very bullish on the future of 5 Points.
Good. Let's talk about post. I mean, it was struggling prior to COVID. A lot of some of the violent stuff, and I think we've addressed some of those issues. I think it's a lot better now. Then we had COVID. How are businesses down here adjusting?
I mean, it seems like everybody's doing really, really well. I mean, I said this throughout COVID. Small businesses are way more able to adapt and fit into the situation than some maybe large, more commercial organizations. Just to get back to what you said about 5 Points in the past, I always have to push back, and that's have to push back all the time about sort of the crime and violence. We've looked at this hard for like a decade plus. There's not really a higher crime rate in 5 Points anywhere else. What happens is if something happens, blocks in any direction, 5 Points goes in the headline or the news story. So it kind of has that perception of reality, right? So I constantly have to deal with that. And going through COVID, I think obviously it was very, very hard for some of these small businesses, but we didn't really look at people that we folks to close their businesses. It was like yesterday, they were going to close anyway. They were going to come into the run. So everything I hear is very positive. I know here Saluda's we're busier than we've ever been. So
That's awesome. But we talked about this a little bit before we jumped on, but you got Mother's Day weekend, you got graduation weekend. It's a perfect storm.
perfect. Yeah, sure.
I'm not running a restaurant, so I'll say it that way. But it's not a bad weekend for us.
Not at all. I mean, in a lot of ways, it used to be, this was kind of the biggest day, and then it kind of trended off towards the summer business-wise. That hasn't happened over the last 5-6 years. I think it's a sign of Columbia's growth overall. It just doesn't depend on the University of South Carolina to kind of push all that. So yeah, it'll be a huge weekend, and everybody's in a good mood and happy, and they think they just got their kids off the payroll, and they have no idea that they're still going to be paying for it.
Well, speaking of, I mean, what types of businesses do you think, I mean, without do we need new fine dining places? What do we need in 5 points to help it really kickstart to the next level?
Yeah, so, I mean, the thing about 5 points, and really in all neighborhoods, but it's the ecosystem of businesses, right? It's not just we need X, Y, or Z, we need a good mix of everybody in it. You know, we talk about it kind of fell out of balance perhaps with more nighttime oriented businesses. College bars are being 5 points forever. That's not going to change. We just need a good, healthy sort of mix of everything. That's what makes this neighborhood great. You come down here and get coffee in the mornings, you go shopping, you have dinner, you have lunch, and you can spend 18 hours. You can between 24 hours and 5 points. And so we're just pushing more towards that good mix of businesses. You don't want to say like desirable businesses versus undesirable necessarily.
Right.
Just a good mix and good good business owners. That's what really makes any of this.
So the 5 Points Association has been a big part of Columbia the last 50 years or however long, 40
years or so?
Yeah, 40 years. How, because of COVID, we had to cancel the St. Patty's Day for a couple of years. This year's back, bigger than ever. Good turn. Talk about how that was and the after action of that one.
Yeah, sure. So it was my first year, so participating at a high level in that. Obviously, I participated in varying levels of that over the years. But it was a really great experience. More than anything, I kept getting asked the question by media about the financial ramifications for the 5 Points Association. And while that obviously was a part of it, it really wasn't our goal. I mean, I viewed it as we're really bringing back a cultural event that's extremely important to Columbia. I mean, it's almost like you wanted to save this for the future because so many people have done it. And it's one of those, just like a lot of things with COVID, I think a lot of people kind of, St. Pat's is back. I'm going to avoid the area because it's busy or whatever. I'm not going to do that this year as I did last year. Missing stuff like that. Really, the energy was just like, thank God this is back.
Yeah.
And thank God we can gather together and things like that. So it was an awesome experience. It was very, very difficult. I'm glad it was over. I got on a plane as soon as it was done. But yeah, it was cool. And we're hoping that we've set it up to where it can have a good future to run.
Well, 40 years of that is a great run, and we appreciate you and Treasury's work on putting that annual thing together. It was it was a success in all ways.
It was great. It could be. It was, it's not. It's the fact that you get 25,000 plus people together. We had like 3 arrests, and I don't even count 2 of them because that was after when everybody was gone. I mean, I'm talking about nothing. Just the greatest. I don't know if you guys are down here. Just the best vibe we had. Part of that is coming out of COVID, and part of the trade union did an unbelievable job building a band. It's just a right mix of bands that really got a really cool atmosphere down here. Yeah, it was an awesome experience. I said I'd never do it again, but I run it, and it's an intoxicating experience to get, to be part of something that makes other people happy. So we're just happy to get a future that it might not otherwise have.
Right. Well, thanks very much. How about overall, not just 5 Points? What's your take on the Columbia business climate today versus, 5 years ago?
Yeah. Well, Columbia is kind of on fire, I think, right now. I mean, it really it's a lot more of trending things from southern states. Some of that investment is coming in. I know you hear that. When I go around and looking at properties, there's a lot of people that are coming in from Charlotte, Atlanta, Raleigh. It's more affordable to do business here. Right. Great untapped sort of resources. Now, I said this is something. There's so many things about Columbia that haven't been maxed out, and haven't been taken advantage of. And, I'm hopeful that we're all on track to really kind of kick it in the high gears. A lot of stagnation, it feels like in Columbia. I can say 5 years, I've got 15, 20, where, there's so many things that can be done before it's starting.
Good. Well, thanks so much for letting us come here today. I got a couple more things for everybody, and then we'll open it up right quick. All right, we have no shortage of national days today. Susan, I know, put in there National Military Spouse Appreciation Day. It's National Beverage Day today. See, by the way, and National Nurses Day. But my favorite may be School Lunch Hero Day. I don't know who your school lunch hero was, but I'm glad we celebrate whoever those lunch heroes are. Did anybody have one? Does anybody know the history of National Lunch Hero Day? Nor do I, but that may be a Google question when I leave here today. So, all right, we got a couple big things coming up. We've got next week, we're doing something different. We're going to have what do we? It's not business after hours. It's partner
engagement.
Partner engagement. Thank
Yes.
you. Hannah. Partner engagement at Savage Craft, and we're stepping out. We're going to bring our brethren across the river and join us with this. We're going to join with the KC West Columbia Chamber, the Lexington Chamber for a mutual Midlands after hours. So y'all come and join us for that next Thursday.
In 2 weeks, the
2 weeks,
19th.
the 19th. But we are very appreciative of our sponsors, Founders Federal Credit Union, MUSC, and Scott and Company for hosting that with us in 2 weeks. All right. For the good of the cause, what you got? Anybody got any fun? I know there were a couple announcements in the chat box, and thanks for that. I hadn't had a chance to read it all. Anybody got anything for the good of the cause? I'm at the call on people. See, this is the awkward phase when nobody's had enough coffee and nobody really wants to chat, but I'm happy to.
Carl,
Yes, sir.
I just want to say that I've worked with Steve for many, many years, back since my tent and event rental days, and have also dined there many, many times. And just it's always a pleasure to work with Steve and go to Saluda's, and we've done some small meetings there, et cetera. But I wanted to take up the silence just to say that. And Steve, I saw you from afar at the auction last Friday night, and hope everything's going well and everybody have a good weekend. Thank you.
I hope you come and get the pork chop. That may be my favorite. All right, what else we got?
This is Jacqueline. Good morning, everybody. I just want to say, at Jacqueline of G Your Dog Smells Terrific. I just want to say that this has been a fantastic opportunity for me as an entry-level small business, trying to figure out where to take my business to the next level. There are a lot of resources to be able to do that. People are very friendly and welcoming within the chamber with helping me and around out in the community, other small businesses. So I just want to say thank you for all of the work to creating that partnership that small businesses can get in and thrive. I have been in it 1 year and it feels like I've been doing it for about 5 just because of the level of knowledge that I have obtained from other partners. So I just want to say thank you to everybody and you're doing a wonderful job. I appreciate you.
Hey, Jack, thanks so much. I appreciate those words and we're glad to have you. All right. Mike Weaver, any pearls of wisdom for the day? As our longest serving diplomat in the history of the chamber, we're glad to have you on this morning. So thanks for joining us.
No pearls of wisdom from this end.
Okay. Well, listen, not to belabor it, we're glad you're all with us today. Steve, thanks for joining us. Appreciate your time. We appreciate all of y'all and our partners at the chamber. So we look forward to catching up with you soon. We'll be here next Friday morning, same time, same back channels. Y'all have a great weekend. Oh, it's Mother's Day weekend. Don't forget it. Happy Mother's Day to everybody. Talk to you soon.